We're live in Studio B in Provo, Utah, as well as Folsom Field in Boulder, Colorado. Jeremy joined alongside Spencer Linton on this game day eve ahead of BYU and Colorado. Now joining us, one of the great voices in college football, the Big 12, the SEC. He's covering it all now. Barry Tramel of the Tulsa World Sports Columnist rejoins the program. Barry, great to have you with us. How you doing?
Well, thanks. Always good to be with my pals from Utah.
Heck yeah, let's go. BYU third year in the Big 12. We got a rematch of the Alamo Bowl between the Cougars and Buffs. How do you see this one playing out in a rematch of a game they played 9 months ago?
Well, I mean, to me, it's still a little early to have a good read on BYU, but the Cougs look a lot like what we saw last year, which was a really good team. Meanwhile, I think Colorado clearly is a step or two below. So, we're talking about two teams that tied for the Big 12 title last year, and the two teams that are sort of out on the tiebreaker. BYU, of course, wins the third place game in the Alamo Bowl. Big. I like BYU in this game, but I still want to see more. I mean, they're largely untested. I will say this: my stock in BYU went up after last night watching East Carolina. That was a nice win what the Cougars did to ECU. So I'm cautiously optimistic about Brigham Young, I would say. Bachmeier being a true freshman, you don't know, but the way that BYU's been playing with defense and running game, LJ Martin certainly producing. So I'm cautiously optimistic. And I believe in in what Kalani's doing with his strategy, his way to build. In the old days, I mean, there's lots of old days, right? But 10, 11 years ago, 8 years ago, in the Big 8 and the Big 12, you had to throw it around and score 45 points a game or you were in trouble. And those days are largely gone. You can win this way. The way we're seeing BYU win football games, you can win this way. We're seeing that all across the country. I mean, we're seeing some high-scoring games now, but we're also seeing a lot of low-scoring games among really good teams. So I think they're on the right track. I think they can win the way they're doing, but you got to play clean football. You got to play tough football. I think it'll get them past Colorado tomorrow night, but we'll see when the meat of the schedule hits in October.
Barry, we welcome your cautious optimism, and frankly, a lot of BYU fans probably feel the same way you do because BYU has not been tested against the likes of a Utah or Iowa State, Texas Tech, or TCU, and they'll face all those teams in order starting in October and into November. But for now, and maybe you already partially answered this, what is your biggest remaining question mark about a BYU team that looks to have the physicality back, the defense back, and be it a pretty good team?
Well, I mean, clearly I think it's everybody's, which is Bachmeier. If BYU needs to win a game by throwing the ball maybe more than Kalani Sitake wants to, can Bachmeier produce? And, he's played, from afar, it looks pretty good so far. No interceptions and taking care of the ball. That's a lot of it. But can he make plays if he has to? And I think, the signs are solid, right? I mean, it looks like he's capable, but until a guy does it, you just don't know. Iowa State plays really good defense. Utah plays really good defense. We'll see about where TCU. We know Tech plays good defense. So, I mean, I think those teams are going to make Bachmeier try to beat them. He's not going to have to. He's not going to have to be Gifford Nielsen or Mark Wilson to do it, but I don't know if he can do it. Can he produce two 80-yard touchdown drives in those games, mostly through the air? We don't know. Maybe he won't have to. Maybe the BYU will be able to run well enough to not ask him to do that. But to me, that's the only really question. And the good thing for BYU is whatever happens in those games, if it potentially could build up a young quarterback into a really good quarterback for the future. So now the problem with college football is the future is now because the portal is so active. But, a place like BYU does better than most at retaining players because a lot of the players are there for different reasons than most of college football. So it's a good sign. Maybe Bachmeier can be a long-time Brigham Young quarterback. That would put the Cougars even further ahead of the curve in this rapidly changing sport.
Let's hope so. You mentioned the 80-plus yard drives. BYU's 3 80-plus yard drives, but trailing, they have yet to trail this season. So we'll see when that happens and if it's in a fourth quarter. Barry Tramel of Tulsa World joins us on BYU Sports Nation. What do you make of the Big 12 so far?
Well, I think we've had a few surprises, right? I mean, it's had some blows. Arizona State losing at Mississippi State was bad for the league. In terms of the league favorite losing at the team picked last in the SEC, that doesn't do much for the conference status. Looks like Arizona State got off the mat. They won at Baylor the other night, so maybe Arizona State's still a really solid team. But Iowa State clearly is good. Texas Tech is clearly good. TCU looks to me to be the real thing. Baylor's had a couple of unfortunate hits it's taken. But I think the Big 12 is very similar to what we saw last year, in which I think it's going to be pretty crowded at the top, with the possible exception of Tech. If Tech, I got a little worried. I got to watch a lot of the Utah Tech game Saturday, and I thought the Utes were, right there with them. And then I had one eye on my game that I was covering, eye on my iPad watching Utah Tech, and I think, well, this is a good game. Utah's staying with them. Then I saw it got away 34-10 at the end. I didn't get too worked up about it. And then I heard Kyle Whittingham say that not in a million years did he think that Texas Tech could dominate his team on the lines the way it did. That opened my eyes because Utah's generally tough on the lines.
Yeah.
So if Tech can do that, then maybe the Big 12 has its super team that it really needs. The Big 12 needs one of these teams to sort of spurt away and say, hey, we're a monster. You got to pay attention to us. It's sort of the way the ACC's got a Clemson. I mean, they're down this year, but I mean, they got a team. People say, hey, this is a legitimate traditional power. Tech looks like it's interested in taking that mantle. So, but if Tech doesn't do that this year, I think we're going to be jumbled at the top again. I don't know if we'll have a 4-way tie at 7-2, but I do think Tech gives the Big 12 the opportunity for that. And as much as parity is fun, as much as it spreads the wealth, as much as it makes a big circle for everybody to have a good time, it's really not what the Big 12 needs. The Big 12 needs some really powerhouse team to emerge.
Barry, you've had a very busy and interesting week in Oklahoma, specifically, obviously headlined by Mike Gundy being ousted as the head coach at Oklahoma State after being the guy there for what felt like forever. So with that in mind, do you feel like the timing of this was the right timing for Oklahoma State to make that move on Gundy, or would you have handled it differently? And how are you seeing the dominoes fall now because of that decision?
Well, I mean, I never like to see mid-season firings. I think they're low rent. I think this is a sport where coaches, administrators, media, everybody always chants team, 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 family, family, family. And then in October or September, you say, you know what, we're just going to cut this team apart and you're out. To me, it's mixed messaging. I don't like it. I would have much preferred to see somebody like Mike Gundy be, basically say, listen, Mike, this isn't working. We got to make a change, but we want you to finish the season. We'll pay your buyout. You just resign saying, you know what, it's just not working. It's time for somebody else. You finish out the year. You'll be feted in all the stadiums, visiting stadiums we go to. We'll honor you at Boone Pickens Stadium. You'll get all your money, but we'll be working for another coach. That doesn't happen very often. Schools like to make the clean cut, go about their business. Coaches don't like to do it. TCU tried to get Gary Patterson to do that in 2021. Gary said, you don't want me? I'm out. I'm told that OSU did not try to engineer that kind of scenario, and I get it. You know, the sport has changed. Coaches, when they're fired or going to be fired, schools want to be ready to spring immediately. The quicker that you make a change, the more you can get about the business of searching for the next guy. And something happened in 2021 that I thought was really interesting. You know, we had two monumental coaching changes. Brian Kelly jumps from Notre Dame to LSU, and Lincoln Riley jumps from Oklahoma to Southern Cal. Both of those jobs came open, LSU and USC, early in that season. If you remember, the USC and LSU made the coaching changes. Ed Orgeron and Clay Helton were axed early in the year. Those schools went about the business of looking for a coach, and they were ready to pounce as soon as the regular seasons concluded. And I think that's the ideal for what universities want to do. Look at 22. Nebraska fires Scott Frost in September. In October, the Carolina Panthers fire Matt Rule. All of a sudden, you had a pretty prominent school needing a coach. You had a pretty prominent coach needing a school. It was just a natural to work that thing out very quickly. And I think that's what universities are hoping for. I get it. I still don't like it.
You get your pick of the litter, but yeah, Gundy's given so much to Oklahoma State. The writing was on the wall. They made the move. We move on. Barry, we appreciate the time and the insight from all things Big 12, Oklahoma, BYU, Colorado, all of it. We appreciate your time, man.
Hey, thanks. Good luck to the Cougars.
Thank you. Barry Tramel of Tulsa World. Always good to have Barry on the show. It gives great insight. He's awesome, man. We appreciate the time.